In February 1981, the wait was over. Buckingham Palace announced that Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer were engaged. The engagement ring, a stunning sapphire surrounded by diamonds, caught everyone's attention. The couple appeared happy and relaxed, and the public was equally delighted that a royal wedding was on the horizon. It's clear that Diana fell deeply in love with Charles. She was young, naive, and enamored with the idea of being a princess. However, if you watch the footage from the engagement announcement, a telling moment stands out. When asked if they were in love, Diana beams and replies, "Of course." But Charles, with an almost flippant tone, adds, "Whatever in love means." Diana looks at him, puzzled, as if to ask, "Don't you know what love is?" This moment revealed an underlying issue. Charles didn't truly understand love. The wedding day was magnificent, and Diana, with her iconic vows, pledged herself to Charles. Yet, behind the grandeur, cracks were forming. After the birth of Prince Harry, their relationship rapidly deteriorated. It wasn't the fairy tale either of them had imagined. In fact, even before the wedding, both Diana and Charles had serious doubts. Friends warned Charles that the marriage wouldn't work, describing Diana as too young and inexperienced to handle the pressures of royal life. Diana spent 15 years in the royal family, enduring moments of immense unhappiness. She was often isolated, trapped in a loveless marriage. Despite her distress, she tried to maintain a brave face for her sons, determined not to let them see her pain. Meanwhile, Charles was carrying on an affair with Camilla Parker Bowles, making little effort to hide it. In 1989, Diana finally confronted Camilla during a party for Camilla's sister. Diana, trembling with fear and rage, told her, "I'm not stupid, I know what's going on." The confrontation left Diana emotionally shattered. On the way home, she sobbed uncontrollably, while Charles remained silent. For Diana, this marked the end of any hope for reconciliation. Diana's pain was not just emotional. She battled bulimia and depression, openly discussing these struggles on television. Her honesty was unprecedented for a royal. Speaking about bulimia, she explained, "You inflict it upon yourself because your self-esteem is so low. It's a moment of comfort, but then you feel disgusted with yourself." Her candidness reached its peak during the infamous 1995 Panorama interview. In it, Diana revealed, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Her bravery in sharing her truth captivated millions and brought new scrutiny to the royal family. By 1997, Diana had divorced Charles and stepped back from royal life. She retained an apartment in Kensington Palace and continued to prioritize her role as a mother. However, she refused royal security in her later years, choosing to distance herself from the monarchy. Tragically, her life was cut short in a car accident on August 31, 1997. There's one important piece of advice I always shared with Diana. I told her, "Look, having security around you isn't just about protection, it's also about privacy. Yes, we've sometimes been invasive, but we've tried to respect your boundaries. Whatever you choose to do, whether here or abroad, always prioritize your safety." Sadly, Diana didn't fully heed that advice. Her decision to decline royal security ultimately led to the tragic events in Paris in 1997. In my view, only one person could have changed the course of history: Queen Elizabeth. Had she insisted that Diana retain her security detail, I am convinced her death could have been prevented. In September 1995, Diana visited the Royal Brompton Hospital to see a friend undergoing surgery. There she met Dr. Hasnat Khan, a cardiac surgeon. It was love at first sight. Toward the end of her life, Diana often referred to Hasnat as her soulmate. For over 2 years, their relationship remained a deeply private affair, hidden from the world. I personally helped them maintain that secrecy. I'd drive Hasnat to Kensington Palace, smuggling him in the back seat of my car under a blanket. Diana longed for love, often telling me, "All I want, Paul, is for a man to wrap his arms around me and say, 'I love you.' Is that too much to ask?" During her visits to Pakistan, Diana cherished the time she spent there, building fond memories. She even introduced William and Harry to Hasnat, as she saw him as the man she would marry. But Hasnat was apprehensive about the intense media scrutiny and the overwhelming pressure that came with Diana's fame. Meanwhile, Diana's connection with Dodi Fayed became public in the summer of 1997. They had known each other for years, meeting at various events. That summer, their friendship blossomed into a romantic relationship. Their time in the south of France deepened their bond, and upon returning to London, they planned to continue seeing each other. After their deaths, conspiracy theories emerged. Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi's father, claimed the British Secret Service orchestrated the crash. He even suggested that Diana was carrying Dodi's child and that their impending engagement posed a threat to the monarchy. To preserve his version of events, Mohammed created a shrine for Diana and Dodi in the basement of Harrods, showcasing an engagement ring he claimed Dodi had given Diana. However, Diana's closest confidants dismissed these claims. She wasn't pregnant, nor was she planning to marry Dodi. Her heart still belonged to Hasnat. Despite their love, Hasnat couldn't handle the relentless intrusion of the press. Diana's late-night visits to his hospital raised security concerns, and the disruption began affecting his work. Diana had never experienced a normal life. Born into one of England's most prestigious aristocratic families, she was the daughter of Lord Spencer and grew up on the Sandringham estate. The Spencer family's lineage was so distinguished that, in some ways, they were considered grander than the royal family itself. Diana was proud of her heritage, yet deeply insecure. She was a blend of naivety and complex. Diana dreamt of marrying Hasnat and even discussed having a daughter with him. She went so far as to ask her butler, Paul, to find someone who could discreetly officiate their marriage. But when Hasnat discovered her plans, he told her, "Do you really think we can just bring a priest here and get married?" For him, the idea was absurd. That moment marked the breaking point in their relationship. Diana's quest for love, safety, and a normal life shaped the final years of her remarkable yet turbulent journey. Her story remains one of heartbreak, resilience, and a deep longing for connection. Diana's relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed was unlike anything she'd experienced before. He was incredibly charming, always immaculately dressed, and carried a cool, confident demeanor with his American accent. From the beginning, he treated Diana like a true princess, something she wasn't used to. With her previous partner, Hasnat Khan, they often had to hide. Their dates were confined to private dinners at home or discreet outings. But with Dodi, Diana could step into the spotlight, and she loved the attention. Though it's unclear if she was truly in love with Dodi, she seemed captivated by the idea of it. Diana was reportedly looking for stability. She wanted to remarry, and even hoped for another child. However, the prospect of marriage to Dr. Khan was never realistic. Their relationship faced insurmountable challenges, including his reluctance to marry or make their relationship public. Diana's frustration with this was one of the reasons she moved on. Dodi in many ways seemed to be a response to that, a way to make Hasnat jealous. Jessica's response was not pleasant. In the summer of 1997, Diana and Dodi's romance became headline news. On August 20th, Diana arrived in the French Riviera, and for 9 days she joined Dodi on his father's luxurious yacht. The media frenzy around them was undeniable, with photographs of the couple plastered across tabloids worldwide, sending a clear message. Diana had found love again. But tragedy struck just days later. On August 30th, Diana and Dodi landed in Paris. From the moment they arrived, they were relentlessly pursued by paparazzi. That evening, after dining at the Ritz, they attempted to evade photographers by leaving through the hotel's rear entrance. They were driven in a black Mercedes 280 with Henri Paul, a Ritz security employee, behind the wheel. Unknown to Diana and Dodi, Paul had consumed alcohol that evening. His blood alcohol level was later found to be over 3 times the legal limit in France. At 12:23 a.m., as the car sped through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel at over 105 kilometers per hour, more than twice the speed limit, Henri Paul lost control. The vehicle struck the tunnel's right-hand wall, swerved, and collided head-on with a support pillar. The impact was catastrophic, with smoke rising from the wreckage and photographers swarming the car. Despite efforts to save her, Diana's injuries were too severe. She suffered a displaced heart and a torn pulmonary vein, among other critical injuries. She was pronounced dead at approximately 4 a.m. on August 31, 1997. The world was left in shock. Controversy surrounded Diana's final moments. Some questioned the emergency response, which took nearly 2 hours to transport her to the hospital, despite passing 2 closer facilities. This delay raised concerns about whether Diana could have survived with faster treatment. Further scrutiny fell on Henri Paul. Witnesses reported he had consumed only a scotch and a beer, yet toxicology reports showed his blood alcohol level as alarmingly high, along with traces of antidepressants. These findings fueled conspiracy theories, with many speculating that something more sinister may have been at play. There are those who believe Diana's tragic death was no accident, but part of a conspiracy. At first, I didn't want to believe it, yet countless circumstances have persuaded me otherwise. Take, for instance, the headline in a London evening paper on the Monday following the crash. It boldly declared, "Drunk as a skunk," claiming the car was speeding at 120 miles per hour, or 180 kilometers per hour. The article suggested that the driver was 3 times over the legal alcohol limit. But here's the thing. At that point, no blood tests had been analyzed. Later, the British inquest established the car was traveling at 60 miles per hour, a fast speed but far from 120, and this was just the beginning of the inconsistencies. For me, everything pointed to a cover-up. Much like the English jury eventually concluded, it was unlawful killing. It took 10 long years before Britain held an inquest into Diana's death, and every detail I uncovered during that time deepened my suspicions. One chilling fact was that all surveillance cameras along the route of the crash were mysteriously switched off. Unbelievable, right? Then there's the white Fiat Uno that supposedly collided with the Mercedes. It was never found. Suspiciously, a photographer who may have driven it, Andon's son, was later discovered dead in his car. The cause? Alleged suicide. But here's the catch. He had 2 gunshot wounds to the head. "Let's be honest, who needs a second shot to commit suicide?" he said. Despite an extensive investigation, the French authorities failed to locate the Fiat, and after all these years, finding it now seems almost impossible. Another eerie revelation. Diana wrote me a letter months before the crash. In it she said, "The next few months are the most difficult of my life. I fear my husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure or head injuries. To make way for his remarriage." Reading those words after her death felt haunting. Could someone have been monitoring her, following her every move? I don't know. What I do know is that no one would openly sign off on the murder of the future king's mother. That said, Diana marrying a Muslim man and possibly starting a new family would have been extremely inconvenient for the British royal family and establishment. Had Diana lived and married Dodi Al-Fayed, the public's attention might have shifted from the House of Windsor to a new, alternative royal family. That's not something they could have allowed. At the time, rumors swirled. Was she pregnant? Were they planning to announce an engagement upon their return to London? Diana even called a trusted journalist, Richard Kay, saying she had something important to share. But we'll never know what it was, until she returns from a long mini-vacation in South America to study Spanish in fluency. Some argue that Diana's untimely death was convenient for many. Had she survived, she would have played a major role in raising Prince William and Prince Harry. Instead, the royal family assumed full responsibility for the boys with no interference. Her brother, Charles Spencer, openly addressed this in his eulogy at Westminster Abbey, pledging to protect her sons from a similar fate. His words were powerful. She would want us to pledge today to protect her beloved boys, William and Harry, from the anguish that used to bring her such despair. We, her blood family, will continue to nurture them so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly, as Diana planned. Tribunal followed. The world mourned its golden child. Elton John's tribute, Candle in the Wind, captured the heartbreak of millions. But Diana's story was far from over. Behind her public image, she was navigating personal struggles. Her relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed had lasted just 30 days. Yet, it was enough to cause a media frenzy. In her final days, Diana was torn. She spoke openly about feeling isolated on the yacht, bored and longing to return home. She revealed to friends that Dodi had been showering her with gifts, earrings, a watch, even a necklace. She suspected a proposal was next. Interestingly, her former partner, Hasnat Khan, called her the day before she died, attempting to reconcile. Many believe that, had she returned to London, her romance with Hasnat would have reignited. Dodi, however, was deeply in love with Diana. He expressed this sentiment to me directly, saying, "Michael, there will never, ever be another woman for me." Excerpt from Dodi's letter, September 28. In the end, Diana was looking for a new direction in life. She wanted freedom from the relentless media scrutiny and the pressures of royal life. But the circumstances of her death remained shrouded in mystery. From the elusive white Fiat Uno to the suspicious actions of the French authorities, every detail raises more questions than answers. Was it all just a tragic accident? Or was there something more sinister at play? The world may never truly know.